should be good.
Okay. Why do we live in a world where the very thought of being still is so unattractive? We all have days that are so incredibly exhausting that by the time we get home, all we want to do is crawl into bed and slip into a coma. We all have days where we just have so many things to do that it feels like, despite our greatest efforts of laboring all day, absolutely nothing got accomplished. We all have days where we struggle to even think straight because we have so much going on. Consider this: why is it that we view stillness as laziness? We all do it. We look at those who are unemployed or taking a year off of school, or maybe spend too much time, in our opinion, at home as being lazy people. So, in order to avoid becoming these lazy people, we tend to pile on the responsibilities in our own lives. Why then is it that while running from thing to thing to thing, we tend to crave the very laziness we try to avoid? We get so stressed out and overwhelmed and beaten down by the world, yet we refuse to leave the cycle in which we live. We find comfort in things like social media or the latest TV series or the greatest sports teams in hopes we will calm our spirit and slow our minds down. However, we must realize that it is in these moments when we are stressed and close to being broken that we become most vulnerable to Satan's attacks. We must recognize that it is when we create these busy lives attempting to feel full for the wrong purposes that Satan finds his strongest foothold. We're all aware that it happens, so why don't we do something about it? But what can we do? How can we leave our lives of chaos? Psalm 46 begins by declaring, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." When we are beaten down, when we are tired, when we can't find the motivation to even put our feet on the ground in the morning, we have to run to God and find refuge and strength in Him. Now, you and I both know that this in itself is a mighty effort. Satan is so good at twisting things in our minds. As busy people, we tend to get this superiority complex and massive ego that we don't need help. That if in fact we do seek help, we have in a sense failed ourselves. We rely on ourselves and the things of this world instead of on Him who made us. Psalm 46 goes on to describe a scene with wars and battles. Verse 6 says, "Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall." But immediately following, verse 7 says, "The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." The passage goes on to describe how God brings wars to an end. In a time of destruction and turmoil that consumed the earth, God was powerful and overcame the wars, overcame destruction. After displaying His power in verses 8 and 9, verse 10 goes on to declare, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." One translation, the Amplified Bible, puts it, "Let be and be still, and know, recognize and understand that I am God." If we truly believe what the psalmist is saying here, we are called to let our busy lives go, to stop searching for unobtainable fullness in the things of this world. In order to escape the bitter hold Satan has on us, we have to let be and be still. This doesn't mean devoting massive amounts of time to more things of this world. It means devoting time to God, being intentional, meditating on His Word, allowing time for Him to work His will in you. The last part of verse 10 talks about how God will be exalted among the nations. He will be exalted in the earth. When we become exhausted and tormented, God will overcome and His name will ultimately be lifted up. He will silence Satan and we will find refuge and peace in Him. So as Christians today who live in a world where the very thought of being still is so unattractive, we have no choice but to adopt a practice of being still, listening to God and finding refuge in Him.